Hey YouTube, it's Lisa, and I am even more, excuse me, of a mess today than usual. I'm usually like here right after I go to the gym. So I'm usually a mess, but I am even more of a mess today because my kids are at my mom's house and my husband actually is taking the day off, and my older ones are at school. So I didn't even go to the gym today because I decided to do all the stuff I've needed to do to catch up on the house because honestly, after having 3 miscarriages in a row, I've basically had 3 first trimesters, which means I have been sick and tired 3 times, and I don't have a baby to show for it. But so my house has definitely reflected that something's been going on, and I just needed a day to take off and just get stuff done. So that's what I've been doing today. But I thought that I would, oh, and you know what? Let me just answer a question that I actually had in a message. Sometimes I say 2 miscarriages and sometimes I say 3 miscarriages, and people are like, well, which is it? Did you have 2 or 3? So here's what happened. Back in January, I found out I was pregnant. And shortly after I had a miscarriage, and it was like not even far enough along, so they call that a chemical pregnancy. So I technically didn't really count that one until I started having more, and then I was like, because at first I just thought it was a fluke thing, because I did have a chemical pregnancy between my second and my third, and I like kind of just, I never really chalked that up because it literally was a ball of cells, and it never got to the point of being a baby, so I always just called it a chemical pregnancy instead of a miscarriage. But now that I've had so many in a row, I am kind of counting that one because I'm realizing it was more than a fluke. So, yeah, so anyway, after 3 in a row, my house is a mess, and so I'm staying home to do that today. But I did want to update everybody that we did tell our kids, and that they took it really, really, really well. And I also wanted to share a couple of books that we loved, a couple of books I'm returning, and a couple of books that were eh. So, and just also, and a couple of things that have worked for us. So, first of all, what we did differently than some people do, and I don't know if I would recommend this or not, it ended up kind of working really well for us, but I don't know if it would always work. Since my son's birthday was the day after I actually had my DNC, we decided not to tell our kids anywhere close to his birthday because my brother died when I was younger, and he died the day after my birthday, and it has always been very traumatic for my mom. And I just didn't want and it's always kind of been a hard day for me because I don't know what to do. I don't know, it's because it kind of went from being my birthday to the day before my brother died. And I didn't want my son to ever feel that, so we decided to wait. And so, but in that waiting period, I did a little preparation. Like I kind of prepped my kids with, we don't know if like things are going well, and we're just gonna have to wait and see. And then we really tried to kind of build up, spend a lot of time focusing on heaven and focusing on things that had to do with heaven and proof of heaven and things that we kind of knew would help them in the long run. Now, unfortunately, we had something that we did not expect to happen in that time, which is our dog, our little dog Trixie, who was the sweetest thing ever, and we are animal people, so this was really hard for us. She died unexpectedly during the week that we were going to tell them. She died unexpectedly of liver failure. No, kidney failure. It was kidney failure. And so it was very sad for our family, and seeing the blessing that I'm trying to see in it, because we kind of had a rough week there, is that it kind of gave us another opportunity to really enhance that belief in heaven, and to really, and also to let our kids know that things just happen and it's not their fault. So anyway, so then we waited until a Friday, and we told them on a Friday because we wanted them to have the weekend to recover. And we told them, and then and my oldest one cried and cried and cried, and my second one cried, but he still didn't really understand it. And my 2 youngest ones, who are 3 and 4, definitely like grasped that it was something big. But then they were still asking, like, so when is the baby coming? Is the baby already here? Is the baby at the hospital? And so they definitely didn't really get it. So it just kind of, we ended up just telling them the baby died. And so it was kind of, but it went So it was kind of going downhill. My oldest son was very, very upset. And then with the D&C, because it was before 17 weeks, they didn't give us the option to take the baby home or anything like that. And I don't know if that's regularly what they do, but they didn't give us the option. So we ended up having a joint cremation, which is what they do with the little ones. So we had a joint cremation, but for our oldest one, having him, he wanted to know where the baby was. So what we ended up telling him was that the baby was so small that when they cremated it, there was just nothing left. And so, because we just didn't know how to explain to him, because he needed something concrete. And so that's what we told him. And that seemed to really help. And I know some people will agree or disagree, because we did do a little bit of spinning on this with the timeline and things like that. So, but it did end up working really well for us. Then, we wanted our kids to have something to do that they could feel like they were actively moving forward and doing something. So we planted a tree in our backyard for them to take care of and everything. And so that is, and then they wanted to plant some little plants around it that attract butterflies, like a butterfly garden. So like it could be, so we could see butterflies and think of our baby. So, but we have to wait until the spring to do that, because those plants wouldn't survive at this very time in the fall. So we are waiting to do that, but we did get our tree planted. And then the other thing is, and this is, it's just a plain white notebook, and it kind of just morphed into an idea. Like we didn't really look it up or think of it, but what happened was my oldest son ended up drawing a picture of our baby in heaven, and I said, oh, I really want to keep that. And so we did, and so then we put, I don't know if you can see, so his drawing is there, and there's like a baby going to heaven, and then my other ones wanted to draw drawings, so we ended up so I put just sheet protectors in here, and we ended up, they're little pencil drawings, so they're kind of hard to see. And then we put this in here, and then I told them they could make a nice cover for it. And they wanted to do something really nice, so they're still working on it. So it doesn't have a cover yet, but the notebook does have something you can slide down in here. And then we also put an ultrasound picture in here. And it was just something, it was just beautiful the way my kids wanted to honor the baby and the way they love the baby. And so that really helped to give them something active to do. And then so then let me go through the books, because since I did know in advance before my kids, I ordered pretty much every book on the subject. Now I'm getting ready to return 3 to Amazon, so I will show you those 3, and I'll show you the ones that really worked well for us. So this one, when I typed into Amazon miscarriage and stuff, I got a couple different things. I pretty much ordered all of them. This one, I don't know if you can see, Remembering Our Baby. And the description was it's a workbook for children whose brother or sister has died. And I kind of thought there was gonna be more to it, but you can kind of see it just has like little spaces for your kids to write. And it says like, when mommy and daddy first told me we were going to have another baby, this is how I felt. And we just kind of didn't feel like this was anything better than the white notebook we were using. In fact, our white notebook that we're using gives them more freedom to just put whatever they want. And then so, and we ask them about their feelings and things. So this book just, I don't know, it's more of a workbook. If you have a child who's a little bit older and likes to work independently and doesn't really want to talk about it with you, then maybe this would be a good thing. But our kids are still younger, and so this was not a good one for us. This one is, we were going to have a baby, but we had an angel instead. Now, this one had mixed reviews on Amazon. Some people said, oh, this book was the best thing ever. And some people said, it's so dark. And so it has such a dark ending. And I thought, people are angry and upset when they have a miscarriage. So they probably thought it was dark anyway. But no, it's dark. It's, I can't say I would recommend it, because it has nothing comforting in it. So it kind of goes through, we were going to have a baby, but we had an angel instead. And then you go all the way through. There are various things like where the child imagined playing with the baby, and then he really liked to feel his mommy's tummy. And then And then it said, but something happened, the baby died. Our baby is not going to live with us. And so it tells the story, but then this is the part where you want them, you kind of are like, okay, I want you to now explain to my child how this is going to be okay and how we're going to work through this. But it basically goes on about we're all sad right now. My mom sits and cries all the time. My dad's sad. My grandparents are sad. And then the conclusion is, if this happened to you, I'm sorry you got an angel instead of a baby. And that's kind of it. And then the very last page says, I think having a baby would have been more fun. Duh, yes, having a baby would have been more fun. Yeah, can't recommend this one at all. And it had nothing helpful. Yes, our kids know what it's like to lose a baby. And the other thing for us is this one was geared towards a longer term baby. Like all the pictures show the mom. Like this was not necessarily as geared towards a miscarriage as it was geared towards a stillborn. But even then it was very dark and there was nothing, I personally did not find anything helpful in it. So the one I liked, but I'm still returning, and I'll tell you why. It's called Something Happened. Now this one was very helpful. The reason I am returning it is because it was definitely also geared towards a stillborn, not an early miscarriage. It was geared towards basically the mother went to the hospital and had the baby, and that was when they realized. It was not necessarily geared towards a miscarriage. So that's why I'm not keeping it. But other than that, I mean, if you had a stillborn, it's a pretty good book. Let's see. Sorry if I keep looking down. I'm looking to find a good thing. So we were all happy about the baby coming to be in our family, and it shows the mommy with a big belly, and the boy is all happy, and it talks about how the parents wanted to have a baby because they really, and it says mommy was happy because she really loved me, and now she was going to have a new baby. And there are these little notes down here, and I found them extremely helpful. And they were very helpful for a miscarriage, but they were very helpful to explain things. Like it says, it is understandable that mommy was happy about the new baby. It is also important to communicate clearly that you cherish the child that you already have, which of course we all know when we're pregnant, we feel a little bit of that torn thing, but it's even more important to say it. And then there was something I wanted to read to you guys that was really important. There were a couple of things, like the temptation to exclude your child from what is happening may be strong, but it is important to remember that what your child is imagining is almost always worse than reality. So on this page it says, instead of going to the hospital to say hello, we went to the hospital to say goodbye. And it shows, the pictures, but it also, on each page, it gives helpful advice on the stage that you're at. So right here, you can't really see because it's really small, but it gives helpful advice on what exactly the book is explaining at that time. And I thought the advice was really amazing. And mommy and daddy told me our baby had died, but I didn't even know about that. And then it also, and I can't find it right now, but there's another thing in the book that says that children sometimes think that what they are thinking can make something happen. So if maybe they were resentful that we were having another baby, they think that might have caused what happened because they thought bad thoughts like, I wish we never had a baby. And this book does a really nice job of explaining how to nurture your children through that, and explain that, and to know kind of some of those things that children process that we don't think about. And see, so it shows that they're actually holding the baby in the hospital. And if I had been further along, I definitely would recommend this book because I really like the little snippets that they give. And I also like that it goes on and it gives a positive thing. It goes on and it says, we planted flowers in our backyard for the baby. We planted a tree for our baby. And it says, children love ceremony and celebration. So your child needs something concrete. And I did kind of steal that idea. And then it concludes that, you know, we're still a family. We're still a family, and because we don't have the baby, that doesn't make us any less than a family. And then it just, when I wasn't always sure, Mommy and Daddy helped me to know that our love goes on and on. And so I just thought this was a great book. And if I didn't read it to my kids, I did kind of steal some of the snippets in there, but I didn't read it to them because it didn't really pertain to us, because it was definitely like with a stillborn that was full term and, you know, had like that's a whole different ball game that I cannot even imagine. I don't want to imagine. And if that happened to you, I am just sorry. That thought just terrifies me even more than a miscarriage at 13 weeks. So those are the books that I'm returning to Amazon, and those are the reasons why. This book is the Maria Shriver, What's Heaven? And I actually borrowed it from my friend, so I probably had a dust cover at one point, and now it doesn't. But it is kind of long, but it's also, I would say it is okay. It's a little bit written for an older child, but kind of what I didn't like about it is the person writing it really has no idea. I mean, Maria Shriver, what does she know about heaven that we don't? I know that sounds like very critical, but there was no proof, there was no comfort. I didn't mind reading it to my kids because it did, it kind of solidified that other people believe in heaven, but I can't say that my kids were like, oh yeah, now we know. So those are the books that are the 3 that I'm returning for those reasons. The one that I borrowed from my friend that I can't say I'd recommend or not recommend. I would say if you were gonna do that one, you'd have to be in combination with a long talk or something else, because I didn't think that my kids got that much out of it. But the 3 books that were amazing for my children, and I know someone else had recommended these, and so I ordered Heaven is for Real. I did not know that there were kids versions, but there are actually 2 kids versions, and I ordered both of them. This one is Heaven is for Real, and it is the board book, and it's like a toddler version. There's nothing complicated in it. And at first when I read it, I thought, well, I don't know, this isn't really gonna be a great book for my kids, but my 2 little ones, this one really, really seemed to drive home an understanding of heaven for them. So it's very basic, but they really liked it. It's a really cute story. And the thing that was really kind of solidified it, like basically through my older children, was that they felt like, because Colton, the one that inspired this story, had a near-death experience, that they felt like, okay, it proves that heaven's real, and they really felt solid about it. So this was the one I ordered for my 3- and 4-year-old, and we loved it, and we still read it every day. And it helped us with the loss of our baby. It helped us with the loss of our dog, and it helped us with, and I'm not comparing the loss of a dog to the loss of a baby. I'm just saying that it helped my children through loss, period. And it also, it looks like I have an uncle that is very, very sick, and I think we're going to need this in the near future to explain things. And also, my kids sometimes ask about my brother and my dad and why they're not here, and I just found it to be very, very helpful. Now, that was for my little ones. I also ordered the older version of Heaven is for Real, and this is for like kindergarten through 5th grade. And my 2 older kids, this book comforted them so much. And so it comforted them so much just because they feel like, okay, he went there, he knows. And I know some adults are critical, like, oh, I think people put that in his head and or whatever. And maybe that's true that people, but for me, what matters is that my kids found comfort in it. And so they found comfort in it, and we really liked it. Now here's the funny part. So we ordered those 2. My kids loved it so much that I said, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get the other one. So I have the adult book, and I actually borrowed this from a friend. And she was one of those people that said, I think his parents kind of put things in, I think they kind of work things out, but it's well written. And my kids have, they have actually been asking us to read a chapter each night, and there's nothing in it that is not child friendly or that you couldn't just skip over. But the beautiful thing about this, so this to my 2 older ones, my youngest one doesn't really, my 2 younger ones don't really understand it or get it. But this one, there is a section in this book where it talks about how he says, I saw my sister. And the mother says, well, what do you mean you saw your sister? You don't have a sister. And he's like, no, the baby you were pregnant with before me. And then it turns out the mother had had a miscarriage, and the mom just starts crying and she tells her husband, our baby's okay. And it was a girl. And so when I read that chapter to my kids, it gave them, okay, now we know our baby's okay. And I know that's a childlike perspective, but they're children, and I want them to have that. I want them to have comfort and belief. And I know as adults, we're like, well, I want to know for sure. Like, I need a guarantee. But I think one of the biggest gifts that I can give my kids right now is to kind of give them that guarantee, and to help them process things. And if they question things later, that's okay. But right now, I just really want to give them the comfort. So anyway, that is how we told our kids, and excuse me, and the books we used, the books we liked, the books we didn't like, and that's that. So I hope that helped somebody. I hope I didn't ramble too much. So I guess that's it. Have a great day.